Flame Shoter. I'm a master certified coach and owner of a personal development coaching practice called Coach Flame.
And I'm Jeanne Ivy, a creative director, artist, and owner of the creative consultancy Ivy Magic. And together, Flame and I are
the Spark Sisters.
In the process of working with Flame as my coach, we discovered that we had complementary and kindred ideas about how to help others find their spark and own their unique place in the world. Eventually, we started talking about how we might share these ideas with others, tapping into the natural riffing style that happened whenever we talked.
And that's a glimpse into how the Spark Sisters podcast began. We have seen and felt the magic of learning to be authentic in our own lives. And that is at the heart of this podcast. We wanted to share the way that we did it, not so that you would do it our way, but because sometimes when you hear someone else say their way, then you discover your own. We want you to live from your authentic spark.
So welcome to the next episode. Today, what we're going to be talking about is how does authenticity matter as it relates to our personal relationships? So I think what I want to start out with, Flame, is what does it look like or what does it feel like when we are being authentic in our relationships?
That is a great question, Jeannie. For me, and maybe this is not universal, but for me, when I can be authentic in my relationships, there's a groundedness inside of me and a sense of space that I get to say and feel what is true for me in the relationship without having to alter it or hide it or couch it in any way. Knowing that it can be received and we can sort of work with it. And that produces a kind of inner unity. Because one of my traditional experiences of myself is I'm very at odds with myself, right? I'm either negating myself or I'm ambivalent about something, right? I feel multiple ways. But in a good friendship or a close, intimate relationship, there's a kind of unity that comes from that mutual acceptance. What's true for you?
I think what I've noticed is when I am being at my most authentic with family members, friends, that there's a flow to it. It doesn't feel like there's any sort of barriers to conversation, to relating to one another, which doesn't mean that there aren't things that aren't challenges that come up, but it still feels like there's a flow that's existing.
I love that because I think part of my experience is that I'm not caught in my habitual patterns quite so much. Or I'm able to be aware when I'm caught in my habitual pattern and we can like have a good laugh about that.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah. That's never happened with us, Flame.
No, that wouldn't make us Spark Sisters or anything. Yeah. And you and I experience such a level of creativity together because of that. And I don't know that the outcome is always creativity, but I think there's this kind of energy that gets unleashed when you're both really authentic and meeting at that place. And maybe it's love energy, maybe it's creative energy, maybe it's, moving each other forward in some way.
You're riffing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's a sense of partnership, right?
Yes.
I suppose you could have a very authentic relationship as doctor-patient or teacher-student. I think that is true also, but at least in the way I'm thinking of it now, when you're equals coming to the situation and you recognize one another as equals and treat each other with the dignity and respect of equals.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if you're not being authentic, is that even a relationship?
Oh, listen to you.
This has been a big theme for me. The difference between an arrangement and a relationship.
Oh, yeah. Talk more about that.
This is where I'm at with it right now. You can have people who you give each other some good things, right? Like I have a neighbor. He's a good neighbor. When I need my trash taken out and I'm out of town, he's totally willing to bop over here and do it. And when his girls need some 40 minutes of sitting after work, I'm totally willing to do that. That's an arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not meeting each other as equals and working towards something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean towards marriage. I mean towards like personal evolution and greater personal authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so this distinction between, oh yeah, that's like I live in a community and that back and forth exchange works for me versus we are present with each other. We are evolving with each other. We are committed to using whatever happens between us to forward something inside of ourselves. That for me is an authentic relationship.
Mm-hmm. And yet, I think what you're describing, it's not transactional. And I think perhaps when you are not being authentic in relationships, then it does become very transactional. I'm bored. I want to spend time with someone. I have some sort of hole in my life that I'm not dealing with. And so I just want to find someone to casually date. Like it's just a transaction. What can you give me? And what do I have to do in exchange for that?
Yeah, it's almost like a form of entertainment.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I'm not judging that. I have certainly done plenty of that in my life.
Yes, yes, for sure.
And it has a good place. And yet, for me, I can see that I often felt very lonely.
Yeah, yes.
Even while being entertained.
Yes, yeah.
And the only way out of that loneliness is for me to own the kind of relationships I truly want to have and the kind of person I need to be in order to be with someone at that level.
So I think also what you might be touching on here is something else I wanted to ask you about, Flame, and that is in relationships, how can authenticity, and you know what, I can never say this word correctly. It just always comes out mumbled in my mouth. Vulnerability. See, I just always, but you know what I mean. How can those two things work together? Or are they two sides of the same coin?
If they're not two sides of the same coin, they're very close.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, like if you had met me in college, my nickname was the Ice Queen, right? I was stone cold. I was not letting anybody in. I got this stuff buttoned up. Thank you very much. So vulnerability was not my middle name, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So as I've grown past that and I see how that perpetuated the experience of being lonely and how that was actually a very inauthentic expression of a very loving heart that is true to me.
Yeah.
So for me, vulnerability has been like the pathway into my authenticity.
Oh.
I was sharing the other day this analogy, you know, the Russian stacking dolls?
Yes.
We always talk about taking the dolls off, right? And actually, I was seeing it the other way. Imagine all the dolls are stacked inside one another, and you start out in your most invulnerable and also inauthentic self, and you're inside the littlest doll, deep inside. And then it's like, as you own your authenticity, as you accept the fact that being human is a vulnerable position, but that's okay. That's part of the journey. It's something that we universally share. Then it's like you start to dissolve the doll and you actually grow into the next bigger one.
Yeah.
right? And you start to take up a little more space and you start to have different dreams and goals and a vision for your life that makes a contribution. And then you step into the next level of authenticity and you dissolve the next doll until finally you are the biggest doll and it's full of this beautiful heart energy and human spirit that's being expressed regularly in your real life here on planet Earth.
Yeah. Wow.
Because
that's a great image. But I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that Brene Brown talks about how if you're not willing to admit to your own vulnerability, yeah, you cut off all the potential pain that could come from being vulnerable, but you're also going to cut off all the joy, the meaning, the harmony that comes from accepting it. So, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Which kind of leads to my next question. What are we really looking for out of relationships? What's the point?
Well, that's a really big question. And the old phrase of no man is an island, really, we need relationships. We need that sense of communion. We need people in our lives who are going to help us along on our journey. And again, I don't mean that in a transactional way. I mean, just by being who they are, when they're being authentic in our lives, that's something that also makes us come alive. That it becomes this safe space for us to keep being authentic and growing into that authenticity. And it's vital to be able to have partners and collaborators on the journey.
I'm sort of seeing it as a spectrum, right? Like you're born with parents. And what do you want out of your personal relationship with your parents? Well, you need some safety, some security, lots of ongoing support, right? And it is more, or it can be more transactional because that's sort of the setup.
Yeah.
You're the baby and they're the provider. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And then let's say we bump it up to, you go off to college and it's like, all right, I'm starting to be able to provide for myself a lot of these fundamental needs. But what do I need now? Well, now I need to sort of mature emotionally and access my creativity. And there's like a different set of things we're looking for. But we're sort of a toddler with it. You know what I mean? We're a neophyte. And so, but then we get better at that. And then here we are kind of at midlife. It's like, okay, now I'm even able to source a lot of that creativity or emotional health and my fundamental basic needs from inside myself. Now, what am I looking for? Well, now I want that sense of closeness and adventure and like the really sweet, rich, but also kind of like if we were looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like really far up the hierarchy, we're really getting to the like subtle states of happiness, not because the other person caused it, but because the relationship inspires it or perpetuates it.
Yes. And this is the part of the program where I'm going to get a little spicy.
I love it when you get spicy.
It really just makes me come unglued when I hear people talking about this idea of like the people closest to you will not just tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And often that's positioned as they somehow know what your experience is and what you need to do in your own life to move forward. Instead of inspiring and supporting the person to discover what is best for them. What is the thing that they themselves need to tell themselves about what they need to hear? And so I think there's something about that too, that in healthy, authentic relationships, you don't have this parent-child transactional hierarchy where one person is going to have free reign to tell you what I think you should do. But instead is like, let me sit with you and ask you some questions to help you draw out of your own self and your own experience what is going to be the next right thing for you to do, or how to handle the situation that you're in. And this is something that I think I have learned through coaching sessions with you, Flame, is what's so great. And I think what people that don't go to coaching or don't go to therapy don't realize that a good coach or therapist isn't going to tell you what to do. They're going to help you figure out what to do by looking within yourself and your values and where you want to go in your life. Oh, and soapbox.
Thank you for that spiciness, because I'm right there with you. I mean, you're kind of describing why I became a coach in the first place. And it wasn't because I thought I could help people. It was because I was so frustrated with having the kinds of conversations with people where other people were telling me what to do and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was also the kind of person who, if you told me I should do it, I would go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it was really nice
same.
to do or not.
Same.
So then kind of in the parallel journey, right? It's cultivating people who can, instead of being one step ahead of you, they're actually side by side with you on the journey. But then it's also becoming the kind of person who can be side by side with someone else on the journey and let in their support, but also hold your ground about what you know to be true.
Yes.
For me, hold my ground so I know what is true for me and live out that truth so that my authenticity then becomes a contribution to his or her authenticity. And now we're on an upward spiral of empowerment.
Yes. That I love that. I love that phrase.
Okay, so let's boil it down. What are we hearing ourselves say then a healthy, functional relationship looks and feels like?
It is that empowering sort of relationship, which I don't think can happen if you're not willing to be real with one another. Yeah. And the other thing your question is sparking in me, Spark Sister, is I'm curious about this idea of sometimes people say in close relationships or even sometimes in families that there's this sum of their parts, that a couple, for instance, has authenticity individually, but might they also have authenticity as a couple, as a unit? And what does that look like? And how does someone in a pair or a group, a relationship, determine and honor what is authentic for them in their relationship, not just individually? Does that make sense? Or my question?
Are you pointing to the experience that sometimes what's authentic with one person is not with another?
No, I think it's more, what is that third entity in the relationship? So you have the two individuals, and then together, what are they together?
What is the unity? What does that meeting of the minds produce?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, so we actually talk about this a lot in coaching. Because if you could just coach yourself, why would there need to be professional coaches?
Right. Yep.
And I kind of bump up against two camps of coaches because I do a lot of coach mentoring at this stage of the game, right? And then there's, on the one hand, the coaches who think that they should be espousing a lot of advice and they should be teaching a lot, and they're sort of like emotional and spiritual guides for people. And so we're always coaching new coaches to relax that tendency. And on the flip side, there are coaches who think they should never add anything. You know, like the sort of classical image that we see in movies of like a therapist who's got their notebook. So how do you feel about that? You know, and they never, there's not any input from the presence of the professional.
Yeah.
And my stance is, no, the relationship is where the magic happens.
Yeah.
it is the coming together of our two consciousnesses that is the thing we both desire. For me, I desire it as my contribution to the betterment of humankind. And for my client, it's what they're looking for. It's the journey they are on. And for me to see that clearly, it's like I become a clear mirror for whatever they are up against. And I have no idea what it is going in, right?
Yeah.
But they cannot do it on their own, not because of codependence, not because of me knowing what I'm doing, but because that's the state of the way the human consciousness discovers itself is through experience.
Having catalysts.
Yes. Great word.
Yeah, that's, you're right. We need that.
Sometimes when, especially in a intimate relationship or a sexual relationship, something where there's a lot of attraction, once we're in it, it's like we forget that catalyst was going to move us somewhere. And we're constantly just like, please don't. Can't we just go back to snuggling and this being fun and exciting? When really the point was the catalyst. The point was to get to this back and forth where it's like, whoa, there's the rub for me. There's where my old family pattern comes into this. There's where I still haven't learned to love myself. There's where I make you more important than me, or whatever your thing is. And that's an interesting way that the universe has it hooked up, that you want this relationship so badly, and then you get in it and you're like, but I don't want to do the things that relationships are going to do. This is hard. Forget it. But I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to come back to the question that you had posed about, now that we've been talking about this, what really is an authentic relationship? What does that really look like? What is that?
I believe that the richest, most authentic relationships are actually about discovering where I am still not authentic and being a container in which I can practice living up to that or into that in a new way. And our friendship is definitely one of those.
Same gal, same.
And I hope to have many, many more throughout my life. Because for me, that also explains why some people come and go. I don't know about you, but sometimes relationships end very quickly for me, or a new one will become very important quickly. And it's like, I was just watching this wonderful interview between Eve Ensler, who created the Vagina Monologues. And she now goes by V, that's her name. And her best friend, Celeste. I forgot Celeste's last name. He's an artist as well. But they were talking about their love for one another and how they live together in two separate houses in upstate New York. And their whole life is about catalyzing their creativity and coming to know themselves better and processing their traumatic past. Each of them have had really unfortunate things happen in their histories, as we all have. And it was so beautiful. And then they both recently changed their names. And they were talking about how it's like they discovered new parts of themselves that needed to be honored. So they needed to let go of these names that maybe were given to them or that they didn't own at birth. Let go of that and choose what to step into, right? And I thought that was such a rich metaphor for what a relationship really can do. It shows us the choices we have to make about what to step into. And if we do, there can be a whole beautiful future there. And if we don't, that's okay. We'll just keep grinding on it until we're spiritually ready. But it made me sort of want to rename myself. What am I stepping into? What's next for me?
Wow. Do you have any ideas of what that would be?
I don't. I mean, Flame is a pretty great name. I don't know.
Flame is a great name.
Not ready to give it up. And luckily, maybe I just need a new Instagram handle or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
You could.
I could.
That story, Flame, I think gets back to the question that I was having a hard time sort of articulating earlier. And that is, you were talking about, here are these two people that love each other and live together, but in two separate houses. A relationship that might conventionally be like, well, we need to live in the same house, but that's not the authentic choice for them as a couple. And so that's the sort of thing is like, who are we authentically as a couple? And then how do we make choices that align with that? And I think it's probably the same thing in friendships as well. The relationship that I have with my best friend and the sort of traditions that we have might not be the same as another pair of best friends. We've determined what works best for us.
Well, and to loop it back to vulnerability, it's vulnerable to at first admit those sort of outside the norm desires or boundaries or whatever it is, whatever's really should define the relationship for the betterment of both parties. But when one of you is willing to say, I think we should live in separate houses, and the other one goes, that's brilliant. Yes, I see how that is right for us. And it can be received on both sides and worked with as a creator for intimacy, as a path into intimacy rather than a path into separation, even though it would look like a separation.
Yes, right.
That's where we really honor the individuality in every human being. And isn't that what we ultimately want, is for everybody to be fully self-actualized, fully self-expressed?
Yes to all of that. So what have you found are some common blocks that people have when it comes to being authentic in their relationships? And what ideas might you have for people that are struggling with those blocks? Again, not telling them what to do, but things to sort of maybe consider.
So obviously I'm a big lover of the Enneagram. I've studied the Enneagram for 25 years. And the Enneagram boils down to three things: fear, anger, and confusion. Mm-hmm. And I see that so much when it comes to my own self in relationships. It's always one of those three things operating.
Yeah.
And so what to do about it? This is sort of the double-edged, or the catch-22 rather. All you have to do is observe when you're in one of those three things. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm about to act out of my fear. And just sit with it until something new emerges, which isn't always immediate. Or, wow, I'm really confused about what just happened here. But rather, like for me, when I'm confused, my first instinct is, well, then just pick something. Maybe it isn't the right path. Maybe it isn't the heart-centered path, but just pick it.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, then often that would abandon the other person emotionally or hurt someone, or just have me do something that was going to take a lot of energy and not be true to myself. And instead, as I've learned, oh, this confusion is actually calling me to a greater understanding. Like confusion is a learning bridge. You get confused right before clarity happens.
Yes, absolutely.
And if we can catch ourselves doing it and then wait for the clarity, eventually something totally new will emerge. Like using this example of, oh, if we lived in two different houses, then, these three things that really routinely hang us up would not be an issue. But these six things that we want as positive outcomes would immediately be available.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a creative solution to something that really bothered me or confused me. So that whole, I guess it's a coaching paradigm of, you have to look at the situation until you can see with renewed clarity or new clarity, and then tell the truth about that. And then take action based on the new truth.
Yeah. Yep.
That's my answer. What about for you? What do you see really gets in the way, and what would you do about it?
I think it is so similar to what you said, but I really zero in on the fear piece, and that a block that I have dealt with in myself and have seen in other people that are struggling in relationships is fear of judgment. If I really bring myself fully to this romantic relationship, this friendship,
this
this partnership, this family, I'm not going to be loved and accepted. If they see my quirks, when the irony is sometimes the quirks are what people love the most about you. And so I think for me, when I start getting concerned, fearful of being judged, I try to sort of maybe shift my thinking to that of an explorer, of, well, let's just see what happens. This is an experiment. I'm going to try this and see. And maybe it'll just be a little step. Maybe I'll just filter myself a little less in this conversation. See what happens. See what happens. And then also, and this has taken a lot of work. And you've been with me during part of this figuring out of knowing that even though I'm taking this risk, all is well.
Nothing bad is actually happening.
Nothing bad is actually happening. If for some reason something catastrophic did happen, if I did say what was on my mind and the person's like, I don't want that, I'm out of here. You know what? I'm going to be okay. It's fine. It's
because
fine.
You're honoring yourself first.
Yes. Yep.
You know, there's a fundamental truth that you just reminded me of, which is the way we are in relationships is the way we are in everything.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So the way I am,
the
way I am with my spouse is the way I am with my body or my creative life or my time. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's all just, I know I use this term a lot, but it's all just grist for the mill, right? It's all trying to get us to awaken.
Yeah.
And awakening and authenticity definitely are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. One other thing that I do want to come back to, something that you were also talking about when you were saying, you know, those common blocks and that how important it is to sit with them, to sit with the fear, to sit with the confusion, to sit with the anger. And isn't it a more inauthentic choice for us to rush to fix it instead of sitting with it, instead of acknowledging this is what's actually happening here? No, that's not what's happening here. I'm just going to change it. I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to acknowledge what is authentically happening right now.
It's almost like a form of scarcity thinking, isn't it? Like there's not enough love to go around or time to go around.
Yep.
I mean, the circumstances would change the noun you plug in there, but it's scarcity of something.
Yeah.
And there's no fixing that.
Yeah.
Right? That the only way to fix scarcity thinking is to come back to that innate knowledge that we are all worthy of love and belonging. We are all worthy of dignity and respect. We all serve a purpose here on this planet, even if our purpose is just to be a lesson to others about what not to do. No?
Indeed.
We hope we're not in that category.
Yes, double indeed.
So what's the takeaway for you out of this conversation about authenticity in relationships?
I think for me, it's that, you know, it comes back to before you can have an authentic relationship, you have to be authentic with yourself. And that authentic relationships are somehow magical. They are an alchemy. They are a way for us to continue our own journey towards being more authentic and how that plays out in ourselves, but in the relationship as well. That there's something very fascinating that can happen when you're willing to do that. It's very encouraging, Flame, to think about it like that.
I feel very validated by this conversation. We're totally on the right track here.
Yeah.
Because we're doing it with each other. And I know we're doing it in other places as well. And it's a journey. It is a process. I love that you used the word alchemy. That's the perfect word. And that's like my favorite form of getting high. Favorite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Flame. This was a really, really great chat.
Very good chat. And we may have to do a part 2 on this. I feel like we had more to say here, but I know we have some other topics we want to cover first. So we hope our listeners come back again and again.
Yes. Agreed. Thanks so much, Flame.
Thanks, Jeannie. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Spark Sisters.
Today's episode included editing and original music from Podcast Edition. You can find them at podcastedition.com. If you'd like to learn more about this series or connect with us, visit sparksisterspodcast.com.